Why did a simple family dinner end with me staring at my own son on a hidden camera, shaking on my knees? What I saw wasn't just shocking. It upended everything I thought I knew about respect, family, and who I really am. My name is Robert Chen, and I'm 45 years old. I work as a senior engineer at a mid-sized firm in Portland, and for most of my life, I thought I understood what respect meant. I thought I knew my place in my own family. I was wrong about both. I'm the kind of man people overlook. Average height, graying hair, glasses that slide down my nose when I lean over blueprints. I wear the same 3-rotation of button-down shirts to work, drive a 12-year-old Honda Civic that rattles when it idles, and I've never been the loudest voice in any room. My wife Claire is different. She's polished, confident, always knows what to say at parties. Our son Ethan inherited that from her. He's 17, handsome, popular at school, headed to college next year. Our daughter Sophie is 14, quieter, more like me. For years, I told myself that being overlooked was just part of being humble, part of being a good provider. I worked long hours, paid the bills, showed up to every school event. I thought that was enough. I thought they saw me. I was so wrong, it makes my chest hurt to think about it now. It started small, little dismissals. Claire correcting me at dinner parties about facts I knew were right. Ethan interrupting me mid-sentence to tell his own story. Sophie going quiet when I tried to talk to her. I told myself it was normal. Teenagers are difficult. Marriages have rough patches. Everyone gets tired. But it wasn't tiredness. It was something darker, something that had been growing in my own home while I pretended everything was fine. The night everything changed started ordinary enough. We went to Marcello's, this Italian place Claire loves on the East Side. White tablecloths, dim lighting, expensive wine. Claire had insisted we go there to celebrate Ethan getting accepted into his top-choice university. I was proud of him. I really was. But sitting there, watching him laugh with his mother about something I wasn't part of, I felt like a ghost at my own family's table. "Dad, you're doing it again," Ethan said, not looking up from his phone. "Doing what?" I asked. "That thing where you zone out and stare at nothing. It's weird." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. Claire laughed, that light dismissive laugh she'd perfected over the years. "Robert, honey, you do tend to disappear mentally sometimes." "I was just thinking," I said quietly. "Well, don't think so hard. You'll hurt yourself." Ethan grinned at his own joke. Claire smiled. Sophie looked down at her plate. I felt something twist in my stomach, but I smiled back. That's what I always did. Smiled and let it go. Dinner continued like that. Ethan dominated the conversation, talking about his college plans, his friends, his future. Claire hung on every word. I tried to contribute a few times, but each attempt was met with either polite disinterest or outright dismissal. At one point, I mentioned a project I was working on at the firm, something I was genuinely excited about. "Dad, no one wants to hear about engineering stuff right now," Ethan said, scrolling through his phone. "This is supposed to be fun." "I think it's interesting," Sophie said softly. "You would," Ethan muttered. Claire touched Ethan's arm. "Your father works very hard. We should respect that." But there was no conviction in her voice. It was the kind of thing you say because you're supposed to, not because you mean it. I knew the difference. After dinner, we stood outside the restaurant while Claire called for an Uber. Ethan was texting someone, laughing at his screen. Sophie stood close to me and I put my hand on her shoulder. She didn't pull away, which felt like a small victory. "I'm going to walk home," I said suddenly. "It's nice out." Claire barely looked up. "Okay, don't forget your phone." I patted my pockets and realized I'd left it on the table inside. "Be right back." I walked back through the restaurant, now mostly empty. Our table had been cleared, but I didn't see my phone. The waitress, a young woman named Mia according to her name tag, was wiping down nearby tables. "Excuse me? I think I left my phone here." She looked up, and something strange crossed her face. Recognition, maybe. Or concern. "I have it," she said. "But can we talk for a second? In private?" My heart started beating faster. "Is something wrong?" She glanced around, then gestured toward the back. "Please, this is important." I followed her to a small office behind the kitchen. She closed the door and pulled out my phone, but she didn't hand it to me right away. "I need to show you something," she said, "and I'm really sorry you're going to see this." "What are you talking about?" She pulled up a chair and tapped something on her own phone. "There's a security camera above your table. It's not supposed to be there. The owner's paranoid about employees and put it in last month, but it caught something tonight and I thought you should know." She turned her phone screen toward me. It was video footage, slightly grainy but clear enough. Our table at dinner, I could see all of us sitting there. The angle was from above, showing the whole scene. "Watch," she said, and pressed play. I watched myself excuse myself to go to the bathroom earlier in the evening. The moment I was out of frame, Ethan leaned across the table toward Claire. "I swear, he gets more pathetic every year." His voice came through tinny but clear on the recording. "Did you see him trying to talk about work? Like anyone cares?" Claire laughed. Not the polite laugh she used in public. A real laugh. "He does try so hard to be relevant." "Why did you even marry him?" Ethan asked. "He was safe," Claire said, sipping her wine. "Stable. I knew he'd never leave, never cause problems. Perfect husband material for someone who wanted to focus on her career." "So basically, you settled?" "Basically." She shrugged. "But he's harmless, and he pays the bills." Sophie's voice came then, quiet but firm. "That's really mean." "Oh, Sophie, don't be dramatic," Claire said. "Your father is fine. He doesn't need to be the center of attention." "He's right there," Sophie said, pointing toward the bathroom direction. "What if he heard you?" Ethan snorted. "He won't. And even if he did, what's he going to do? He never does anything. He just takes it." They all laughed except Sophie. She looked miserable. The video continued. I came back from the bathroom, sat down, and the conversation shifted immediately to something benign. No one looked guilty. No one acted differently. They just smoothly transitioned to pretending I mattered. Mia stopped the video. "I'm so sorry. I debated showing you, but I would want to know." I couldn't speak. My throat had closed up. I stared at the frozen image on her screen, my family, my wife, my son, laughing at me behind my back. Not even behind my back. Right in front of me, just waiting until I left the room. "Sir?" Mia touched my arm gently. "Are you okay? Can you send that to me?" I heard myself ask. My voice sounded far away. "Of course." She fumbled with her phone. "I'll text it to your number." My phone buzzed a moment later. I picked it up with shaking hands and watched the video again, and again. Each time it hurt more. Each time I saw new details. The casual cruelty in Ethan's voice, the complete dismissiveness in Claire's tone, the way Sophie tried to defend me and was immediately shut down. "Thank you," I managed to say to Mia, "for showing me." "I'm sorry," she said again. "Do you need anything? Water? Do you want to sit down for a while?" "No, I need to go home." But I didn't go home. Not right away. I walked. I walked for over an hour through the cooling Portland evening, my phone heavy in my pocket. The video played in my mind on repeat. Every word burned into my memory. He's harmless, and he pays the bills. He never does anything. He just takes it. What's he going to do? What was I going to do? By the time I got home, the house was dark except for a light in the kitchen. Claire was reading on her tablet, a glass of wine next to her. "Did you have a nice walk?" she asked without looking up. "Yes," I said. "Good." I'm glad you're getting some exercise. I stood there for a moment, watching her. She had no idea. No clue that I'd seen behind the curtain, that I knew what she really thought of me. Part of me wanted to play the video right there, to watch her face when she realized I knew. But something stopped me. Some instinct told me to wait, to think, to plan. I'm tired, I said. Going to bed. Okay, honey. Love you. The words were automatic, meaningless. I didn't respond. In our bedroom, I lay in the dark for hours, my phone next to me. I must have watched that video 50 times. Each time I saw my life more clearly. This wasn't new. This had been happening for years. I'd just been too blind, or too cowardly to see it. Around 2 in the morning, I finally fell asleep. But before I did, I made a decision. They thought I was harmless. They thought I would just take it. They were wrong. Chapter 2. The next morning at work, I couldn't focus. I kept replaying that video in my mind. I'd watched it 50 times the night before, lying awake while Claire slept beside me, oblivious. I started documenting everything. I opened a browser and searched Recording Laws Oregon, one-party consent state, which meant the restaurant video was probably usable. Then I created a folder on my desktop labeled Documentation and began collecting evidence. Screenshots of texts, notes about dismissals, patterns I'd been blind to for years. Robert, got a minute? I looked up to see Daniel, my supervisor, standing at my desk. He was 10 years younger than me, sharp suit, confident smile. The kind of man who looked like he belonged in charge. Of course. Great. Conference room 2. I followed him to a glass-walled room where 3 other team members were already sitting. Patricia, James, and rookie engineer Marcus. They had papers spread across the table, and I recognized them immediately. My calculations, my bridge design proposal. We're presenting the Hawthorne Bridge retrofit to the City Council next week, Daniel said, sitting at the head of the table. I wanted to go over the final details. Okay, I said, taking a seat. For the next 30 minutes, Daniel walked through the presentation. My work, my calculations, my design modifications. He explained everything perfectly, with only occasional glances at the actual numbers. At one point, Patricia asked a technical question about load distribution, and Daniel hesitated. Robert can probably explain that better, he said. I explained the load distribution, the stress factors, the safety margins I'd built in. Patricia nodded, made notes. James looked impressed. Excellent work, Daniel, he said when I finished. Not excellent work, Robert. Not, thanks for explaining, Robert. Just congratulations to Daniel for work he hadn't done. I opened my mouth to say something, then closed it. What would I say? That it was my project? That I'd spent 3 months on those calculations? That Daniel had barely looked at them until last week? He never does anything. He just takes it. Ethan's words echoed in my head. Actually, I said quietly, I'd like to present at the council meeting. The room went silent. Daniel looked at me with surprise. You want to present? It's my project. I think I should be the one to explain it. Well, sure, Robert, but... Daniel shifted uncomfortably. The council expects a certain level of, polish. No offense, but public speaking isn't really your strength. I can speak fine. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying that I've already prepared the presentation. I've met with council members to brief them, and you'll take credit for my work. The words came out harder than I intended. Again. Patricia and James exchanged glances. Marcus looked down at his notebook. Daniel's smile tightened. Robert, I think you're misunderstanding how team projects work. We all contribute, and someone has to be the face of the presentation. That's my role as supervisor. Right, I said, your role. I appreciate your passion for this project, I really do, but let's be realistic here. You're great with numbers, with the technical side. That's your strength. Let me handle the presentation side. I stood up. Fine. Robert. It's fine, Daniel. You're right. I'll stick to what I'm good at. I walked out of the conference room, my hands shaking. Behind me, I heard someone, probably Patricia, say something in a low voice, followed by nervous laughter. Back at my desk, I stared at my computer screen without seeing it. This was my life. This was what I'd accepted as normal. Being overlooked at work, being dismissed at home, being treated like I was less than, like I should be grateful just to be included. My phone buzzed. A text from Claire. Can you pick up Sophie from school today? I have a client dinner. Not, would you mind? Not, are you available? Just an assumption that I would do it, because that's what I did. I said yes to everything. I typed back, sure. Another text came through immediately, this time in our family group chat. It was from Ethan. Hey fam, big party at Connor's this weekend. Mom, can I have $200 for drinks and stuff? Claire responded within seconds. Of course, sweetie, have fun. $200 for one party. I thought about my Civic, about how I'd been putting off getting the transmission fixed because it was expensive, about how I brought lunch from home every day to save money, about how I'd been wearing the same rotation of shirts for 3 years because there was no point in buying new ones. But Ethan needed $200 for a party, and Claire didn't even hesitate. I scrolled up through the chat history, weeks of messages. Most were from Ethan and Claire, making plans, sharing jokes, talking about things I wasn't part of. Occasionally, Sophie would chime in. I'd sent maybe a dozen messages in the past month, usually practical things like, I'll be home late, or, need anything from the store? One message from 2 weeks ago caught my eye. I'd sent a photo of a sunset I'd seen driving home from work with the caption, "Beautiful evening." No one had responded, not even a thumbs up. But right below it, Ethan had shared a meme, and both Claire and Sophie had responded with laughing emojis within minutes. I locked my phone and put it face down on my desk. You okay, man? I looked up to see Marcus standing nearby holding 2 cups of coffee. He held one out to me. You look like you could use this. Thanks. I took the coffee. It was still hot, steam rising from the small opening in the lid. Marcus leaned against my desk. He was young, maybe 25, fresh out of graduate school, smart kid. Reminded me of myself 20 years ago, except he had confidence I'd never had. That was rough in there, he said. Daniel's presentation thing. It's fine. It's not fine. That was your project. He's basically stealing your work. I sipped the coffee. That's how it works here. It shouldn't be. Marcus glanced around, then lowered his voice. For what it's worth, everyone knows you're the one who actually does the work. Daniel just has the better smile. Doesn't matter what people know if no one says anything. You should say something, to HR or something. I almost laughed. HR doesn't care about hurt feelings. It's not about feelings. It's about credit, recognition. If you don't stand up for yourself, no one else will. He was right. I knew he was right. But the thought of marching into HR, of making a formal complaint, of causing waves, it made my stomach turn. He never does anything, he just takes it. I'll think about it, I told Marcus. Thanks for the coffee. He nodded and walked back to his desk. I watched him go, wondering what it was like to be that young and that sure of yourself. To believe that speaking up mattered, that justice existed in places like corporate offices. I used to believe that too. Maybe that's what hurt the most, realizing that all those years of quietly doing good work, of being reliable and responsible and present, had bought me nothing but invisibility. At 3:30, I left work to pick up Sophie from school. The high school was a sprawling complex on the west side, all brick and concrete and teenage energy. I parked in the pickup line and waited. Sophie appeared a few minutes later, walking alone with her backpack. She saw my car and waved, a small, genuine smile crossing her face. That smile made something in my chest unclench slightly. She got in the passenger seat and buckled up. "Hey, Dad." "Hey, sweetie. How was school?" "Fine. Mr. Harrison gave us a huge history paper to write." "What's it about?" "World events from the 20th century. We get to pick our own topic." "That sounds interesting. What are you thinking?" She looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes. Gratitude, maybe, that I was actually asking, actually interested. Maybe the space race? Or something about the Cold Terror era? Both good choices. You've always been good at history. We drove in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Sophie pulled out her phone, scrolled for a bit, then put it away. "Dad?" Her voice was quiet. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course. Are you and Mom okay?" The question caught me off guard. "Why do you ask?" "You just seem, I don't know, different lately, distant." I thought about lying, about saying everything was fine, the way I always did. But looking at Sophie, at her genuinely concerned face, I couldn't do it. "I'm figuring some things out," I said carefully, "but you don't need to worry about it." "Is it about last night? At dinner?" My hands tightened on the steering wheel. "What about last night?" "The way Ethan talked to you. And Mom." She paused. It wasn't right. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to defend them, to make excuses, but another part, the part that had watched that video 50 times, wanted to tell her everything. "Sophie," I said, "do they always talk about me like that, when I'm not around?" She looked down at her lap. "Sometimes." "What do they say?" "Dad, please, I need to know." She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was almost a whisper. "Ethan says stuff about you being boring, about how you're not cool like his friends' dads. Mom doesn't usually say mean things, but she doesn't stop him either. And sometimes she'll make jokes about you being forgetful or old-fashioned." Each word was a small knife. "How long has this been going on?" "A while. A couple years, maybe. It got worse after Ethan started high school." "Why didn't you tell me?" "I did. Remember last year when I said Ethan was being mean to you? You said he was just being a teenager and it was normal." I did remember that. Vaguely. I'd dismissed it, told her not to worry, that siblings fought and it was fine. I hadn't wanted to see it, hadn't wanted to believe my own son could be cruel. "You were right," I said. "I should have listened. It's not your fault, Dad. They're the ones being awful." We pulled into our driveway. Claire's car wasn't there yet, still at her client dinner. Ethan's beat-up Jeep sat crookedly near the garage, music still thumping from inside. "Sophie," I said before she could get out, "thank you for telling me, and thank you for defending me at dinner last night." She looked confused. "How did you know about that?" I'd said too much. "Lucky guess. I know you've always got my back." She smiled, but it was sad. "Always, Dad." We went inside. Ethan's music shook the walls, some aggressive track about money and status. Sophie went straight to her room. I stood in the kitchen, looking around at the home I'd worked so hard to provide for, and felt like a stranger. My phone buzzed. Another text in the family group chat. Ethan had sent a photo of himself and friends at the gym, all of them shirtless and flexing. The caption read, "Gains with the boys. Dad should join us sometime. Show him what a real workout looks like, lol." Claire had already responded, "Ha ha! Your dad prefers his garage workouts." I stared at that message. She'd made it sound affectionate, but I knew what it really meant. My garage workouts consisted of a 30-year-old weight bench I'd bought at a yard sale and some dumbbells with cracked rubber coating. I'd suggested joining a gym once, and Claire had said it was too expensive. But Ethan's gym membership was apparently fine. His $200 for parties was fine. Everything for Ethan was fine. I opened my laptop at the kitchen table and started doing something I'd never done before. I went through our joint bank account with detailed attention, really looked at where our money went. The numbers were stunning. Over the past year, Claire had spent thousands on herself. Salon visits, new clothes, yoga retreats, client dinners that she expensed but never got reimbursed for. Ethan had a steady stream of cash withdrawals, usually 100 or 200 at a time, plus his car insurance, his gym membership, his phone bill, his college application fees. Sophie's expenses were minimal by comparison. School supplies, occasionally new clothes, a modest allowance. And me? I had maybe $200 of personal spending in 12 months, a new belt when my old one broke, a book about engineering I'd wanted, one dinner out with co-workers for someone's retirement party. Everything else, mortgage, utilities, groceries, savings, retirement fund, came from my income. Claire made good money at her marketing job, but apparently that money was hers to spend on herself. My money was family money. I made a folder on my desktop labeled documentation and started taking screenshots. Bank statements, credit card bills, text message conversations. I didn't know what I was documenting for exactly. I just knew that I needed evidence, proof that I wasn't crazy, that this imbalance was real. The front door opened. Claire came in carrying her purse and laptop bag, looking tired but satisfied. "Hey, hun, how was your day?" "Fine," I said, closing my laptop. "How was your dinner?" "Productive. I think we landed the client." She set her bags down and kicked off her heels. "God, I need wine. Want some?" "No thanks." She poured herself a glass and sat across from me at the table. For a moment, we just looked at each other, and I wondered if she could see the change in me, if she noticed that something had shifted. "Is everything okay?" she asked. "You seem tense." "Just tired." "You should go to bed earlier. You stay up too late on your computer." I almost laughed. "Yeah, maybe I should." She sipped her wine, scrolled through her phone. The silence stretched between us, but it wasn't comfortable. It was the silence of two people who had nothing left to say to each other. "Claire," I said, "do you think I'm boring?" She looked up, surprised. "What?" "No, why would you ask that?" "Just wondering." "You're not boring. You're steady, reliable." She said it like those were good things, but I heard the subtext. Boring, predictable, safe. What if I wanted to be something else? Something more than just reliable? "Robert, where is this coming from?" She set down her phone, actually paying attention now. "Did something happen?" "No, just thinking." "Well, don't overthink it. You're fine exactly as you are." She stood up, grabbed her wine glass. "I'm going to take a bath. Can you make sure Ethan doesn't stay up too late? He has an early class tomorrow." "Sure." She left. I sat there at the kitchen table with my closed laptop and my closed phone, surrounded by the life I'd built, and felt more alone than I ever had. That night, I lay awake again. Claire slept next to me, her breathing deep and even. I thought about what Marcus had said at work. If you don't stand up for yourself, no one else will. He was right. They were all right. Everyone who'd ever told me to speak up, to assert myself, to stop letting people walk over me. I'd spent my whole life being harmless, being safe, being the person who never caused problems. Maybe it was time to cause some problems. Chapter 3. The next 2 weeks were strange. I kept going through the motions, work, home, family dinners, but everything felt different. I was watching my life from outside now, seeing patterns I'd been blind to for years. At work, I started keeping detailed notes. Every meeting where my ideas were presented by someone else. Every project where I did the grunt work while others took credit. Every time Daniel smiled and accepted praise for calculations I'd spent weeks perfecting. I documented all of it, timestamps and witnesses included. At home, I watched. I listened. I paid attention to the small cruelties that had become so normal, I'd stopped noticing them. Like the morning Ethan asked me to drive him to school because his Jeep was getting new tires. "Can't you take Mom's car?" I asked. She already left for her yoga thing. He stood in the kitchen, scrolling his phone, not even looking at me. Come on, I'm going to be late. My car's pretty beat up. You sure you don't want to wait for an Uber? Dad, just drive me. It's not a big deal. But it was a big deal when we pulled up to the school. Ethan's friends were hanging out near the entrance, and I saw him tense as we approached. You can drop me here, he said when we were still a block away. The entrance is right there. Dad, here is fine. I pulled over. Ethan grabbed his backpack, already opening the door. Hey, I said, have a good day. Yeah, thanks. He got out, slammed the door, and walked quickly toward his friends. I watched in the rearview mirror as he joined them. One of the guys said something and pointed at my car. They all laughed. Ethan shook his head, said something back. More laughter. I drove away, my hands tight on the wheel. When I got to work, I added another note to my documentation folder. March 8th. Ethan embarrassed to be seen with me at school drop-off. It seemed pathetic, writing things like that down, like I was some victim collecting evidence of my own irrelevance, but I kept doing it anyway. The following weekend, Claire's sister Amy came to visit with her husband and 2 kids. We had a barbecue in the backyard, the kind of family gathering I used to enjoy. Now it just felt like another stage where I played the role of Invisible Man. Robert, honey, can you grab more drinks from the garage? Claire called out. I was in the middle of a conversation with Amy's husband, Tom, about the Blazers game, but I got up without finishing my sentence. No one noticed. In the garage, I stood by the extra refrigerator we kept for parties, and I could hear voices from the backyard through the open window. I swear, Claire, I don't know how you do it. That was Amy. Managing your career and the kids and everything? It's not that hard when you have a partner who's flexible, Claire said. Robert's really good about handling the domestic stuff. He cooks? God, no, but he does all the boring things. Pays bills, maintains the house, drives kids around. It frees me up to focus on work. Sounds like a good arrangement. It is. He's very low maintenance. Doesn't need a lot of attention or validation. Some men need constant praise, you know? Robert's just content doing his thing. I stood there holding a case of beer, listening to my wife describe me like I was a household appliance. Reliable, low maintenance, good for handling boring things. Must be nice, Amy said. Tom needs his ego stroked constantly. They laughed. I carried the beer back outside, set it down on the table, and went back to my conversation with Tom like nothing had happened. That night, after everyone left and the house was quiet, I added another entry to my documentation. March 12th, overheard Claire describing me as low maintenance and good for boring things. No mention of partner, husband, equal, just useful. The file was getting long. At work, things came to a head during a Monday morning meeting. The whole team was there, plus our department head, Margaret. Daniel was presenting the Hawthorne Bridge project to get final approval before the city council presentation. As you can see, Daniel said, clicking through slides that showed my calculations, we've achieved a 23% improvement in load distribution while actually reducing overall material costs. Margaret nodded appreciatively. Impressive work, Daniel. This could be a model for future retrofits. Thank you. It took a lot of creative problem solving, but I think we found an elegant solution. I felt something snap inside me, not dramatically, just a small, quiet break, like a wire pulled too tight finally giving way. Excuse me, I said. Everyone looked at me. I'd barely spoken in these meetings for years. Yes, Robert, Margaret said. Those calculations, the load distribution improvements, I did those. Daniel's smile flickered. Well, yes, Robert contributed significantly to the technical aspects. I didn't contribute. I did all of it. 3 months of analysis, modeling, and testing. Every number in that presentation is mine. The room went quiet. Patricia looked uncomfortable. James studied his notepad. Marcus watched me with something like encouragement in his eyes. Robert, Daniel said carefully. I think you're misunderstanding the collaborative nature of… I have the original files, I continued, time-stamped, with my name on them. I can show the entire development process, every iteration, every test. Can you? Daniel's face went red. This is really inappropriate. What's inappropriate is taking credit for someone else's work. I looked at Margaret. I've been documenting this pattern for 2 weeks. Daniel presents projects I develop, gets promotions based on work I do, and everyone just accepts it because he's better at smiling and shaking hands. Margaret set down her coffee cup. That's a serious accusation, Robert. It's a factual statement. I have evidence. Fine. She looked between us. Daniel, is what Robert says accurate? Did he do the bulk of the technical work on this project? Daniel shifted. Robert did significant technical contributions, yes. But as supervisor, I'm responsible for… Did you do these calculations? Margaret cut him off. I oversaw the process. That's not what I asked. Did you personally perform these calculations? Silence. Daniel looked at me with something close to hatred. No, he finally said. Robert did the calculations. Margaret turned to me. Why are you bringing this up now, Robert? You've been here 15 years. This is the first I'm hearing about credit issues. Because I'm tired of being invisible. The words hung in the air. I heard how they sounded, bitter, angry, unprofessional. But they were true. Margaret sighed. All right, we'll discuss this privately after the meeting. For now, let's table the Hawthorne presentation and move on to… I want to present it, I said. To the city council. It's my work. I should present it. Daniel started to protest, but Margaret held up a hand. Let me think about it. Meeting dismissed. Everyone filed out quickly, avoiding eye contact with me. I stayed in my seat. Marcus gave me a subtle thumbs up as he left. Daniel stormed out without looking back. When the room cleared, Margaret came and sat next to me. That was quite a performance, she said. It wasn't a performance. It was the truth. I believe you. I've suspected for a while that Daniel was overstating his contributions, but without evidence or complaints. She shrugged. Why now, Robert? What changed? I thought about that video, about my family, about the life I'd been living. I realized I don't have to accept being treated like I don't matter. Margaret studied me for a long moment. Okay, here's what's going to happen. You're going to send me all your documentation, files, timestamps, everything. I'll review it with HR. If it's as clear as you say, we'll make some adjustments. The presentation, you'll present it, alone. Daniel can attend, but it's your project now. She stood up. Fair warning though, Robert, this kind of stand makes waves. Some people won't like it. You've been the quiet guy for a long time. Changing that has consequences. I know. Do you? Because you look like someone who's going through something bigger than just work politics. She was perceptive. I gave her a tight smile. I'm figuring some things out. Well, figure them out quickly. The council presentation is in 4 days. She left. I sat alone in the conference room, my heart pounding. I'd done it. I'd actually stood up for myself, and instead of the world ending, I'd gotten what I wanted. It felt strange, unfamiliar, a little frightening, but also good. When I got home that evening, Sophie was doing homework at the kitchen table. She looked up when I came in. Hey, Dad, you okay? You look intense. I'm good. Actually, I'm great. Where's your mom? Jim. Ethan's at Connor's house. I sat down across from her. Can I ask you something? Sure. If you could change anything about our family, what would it be? She put down her pencil, surprised by the question. That's random. I know, but I'm curious. She thought about it, really thought about it. I guess I'd want everyone to be nicer to each other, more respectful. Who's not respectful? She gave me a look. Dad, you know. Say it anyway. Ethan's mean to you. Mom acts like you're her assistant instead of her husband, and you just let them do it. She paused. But mostly them. You're fine. What if I didn't let them do it anymore? What do you mean? What if I started standing up for myself, demanding respect, making it clear that I'm not just here to pay bills and drive people around? Sophie smiled, and it was the first real smile I'd seen from her in days. I'd like that. It might get uncomfortable. There might be fights. Good. Maybe we need some fights. Better than everyone pretending everything's fine when it's not. I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. You're pretty smart for 14. I'm observant. Someone in this family has to be. That night, Claire came home from the gym energized and talkative. She'd run into a friend, made plans for lunch next week, heard gossip about someone's divorce. Oh, and I volunteered you to help move some furniture this weekend, she said while making a salad. Amy's redecorating, and Tom has a bad back. I can't this weekend. She looked at me, surprised. Why not? I have the city council presentation to prepare for. Can't you do that on Sunday? No, I need Saturday and Sunday both. Robert, it's just a few hours of furniture moving. Then Tom can hire movers. I said no. Claire set down her knife. What's gotten into you lately? Nothing. I'm just prioritizing my work for once. Your work that you never talk about, your work that we never see any benefit from? The work that pays for this house, your gym membership, Ethan's college fund. I work too, she said defensively. I contribute. Do you? Because looking at our bank statements, your income seems to mostly pay for your lifestyle, while mine covers everything else. Her eyes went wide. Have you been tracking my spending? I've been reviewing our joint finances. Is that not allowed? It's weird, Robert, and kind of controlling. I almost laughed. Controlling? I've never controlled anything in this house. I just quietly pay for everything and get told I'm too boring to listen to. Where is this coming from? I could tell her. I could play that video right now, show her exactly where this was coming from. But something told me to wait. I wasn't ready yet. I didn't have everything in place. I'm just tired, I said instead. Tired of being taken for granted. I don't take you for granted. Don't you? She started to respond, then stopped. A flicker of uncertainty crossed her face. We can talk about this later. I need to shower. She left. I stayed in the kitchen, finishing my documentation for Margaret, and felt that same strange mix of fear and exhilaration I'd felt at work. I was done being harmless. Chapter 4. The city council presentation was on Thursday evening. I spent Wednesday night going over my slides, checking every calculation, rehearsing key points. It had been years since I'd presented anything to anyone beyond small team meetings. The thought of standing in front of the council, cameras rolling, local press in attendance, made my stomach churn. But I was going to do it anyway. Thursday morning, I put on my best suit, the one I'd bought 5 years ago for a wedding and rarely wore since. It still fit, mostly. Claire watched me get dressed with a puzzled expression. What's the occasion? She asked. Big presentation tonight, remember? Oh, right. She didn't remember. Of course she didn't. Well, good luck. Thanks. Don't be nervous, just remember to smile and speak clearly. Her tone was the same one you'd use with a child before a school play, encouraging but ultimately dismissive, like she didn't expect much. I drove to work in silence, rehearsing my opening lines. Margaret had reviewed my documentation earlier in the week and confirmed everything I'd said was accurate. Daniel had been placed on a performance improvement plan and would not be attending the presentation. The news had spread through the office quickly, and people looked at me differently now. Some with respect, others with wariness. The quiet guy had gotten loud, and no one quite knew what to do with that. The day crawled by. I couldn't focus on regular work, kept checking the time, reviewing my notes. Marcus stopped by my desk around lunch. You ready? He asked. As ready as I'm going to be. You're going to do great. And hey, thanks. For what? For showing that speaking up actually works sometimes. I've been trying to figure out if this place was worth staying at long term. Seeing you stand up to Daniel, it helps. Don't model yourself after me, I said. I waited 15 years to do what I should have done on day one. Better late than never, he grinned. Knock 'em down tonight. The council meeting was at 7 in the municipal building downtown. I arrived at 6:30, set up my laptop, and checked the projector twice. The council chamber was oak-paneled and formal, with curved bench seating for the 7 council members and rows of chairs for the public. Local TV cameras were set up in the back. Margaret arrived and gave me a reassuring nod. A few other colleagues filtered in. I saw Jennifer from accounting, Patricia from the team, even Daniel sitting in the back row with his arms crossed and his jaw tight. At 7 sharp, the council president called the meeting to order. There were several items on the agenda before mine: a zoning dispute, a parks budget review, some procedural votes. I sat through all of it, my presentation notes damp in my sweating hands. Finally, item 7, proposed Hawthorne Bridge retrofit. We have Robert Chen from Morrison Engineering to present findings. I stood. My legs felt shaky, but I made it to the podium. 7 council members looked at me expectantly. Maybe 50 people in the audience. Cameras recording everything. I took a breath and began. Good evening. My name is Robert Chen, and I'm a senior structural engineer at Morrison Engineering. For the past 3 months, I've been analyzing potential retrofits for the Hawthorne Bridge to improve safety and load capacity while minimizing costs and construction time. I clicked to my first slide, a photo of the bridge, 80 years old, showing its age. The Hawthorne Bridge is a vital link in our city's transportation infrastructure, but it's reaching the limits of its original design specifications. Rather than a complete replacement, which would cost upwards of $40 million and cause years of disruption, I've designed a targeted retrofit that achieves similar safety improvements for a fraction of the cost. I walked through the technical details, the stress analysis, the material specifications. I explained the load distribution improvements, the seismic upgrades, the timeline. I showed cost comparisons, safety margins, traffic impact projections, and people listened. The council members asked questions, smart questions, and I answered them clearly, confidently. I knew this work inside and out because I'd done every bit of it myself. No one else could have answered these questions. Not Daniel, not anyone. One council member, a woman named Torres, leaned forward. Mr. Chen, this is impressive work. Walk me through how you achieved the 23% improvement in load distribution. That seems remarkable. I explained the mathematical modeling, the computer simulations, the way I'd redistributed stress points across the existing structure. She nodded along, clearly following the technical aspects. And you did this analysis yourself? She asked. Every calculation, I confirmed. Remarkable. This is exactly the kind of innovative thinking we need. The presentation lasted 45 minutes. When I finished, the council thanked me, said they'd vote on the proposal at next month's meeting, and moved on to the next item. But as I gathered my materials, several people approached me. Margaret was first. Excellent work, Robert. Truly. Patricia gave me an awkward thumbs up. That was really good. A council member came down from the bench to shake my hand and ask for my card. A local news reporter wanted a quote for the evening segment. I left the municipal building at 9:30, exhausted but buzzing with adrenaline. I'd done it. I'd presented my work, gotten recognition, proved I wasn't just the invisible numbers guy. My phone showed 3 missed calls from Claire and several texts. Where are you? Ethan needs the car tomorrow. He wants to know if you can trade with him. Robert? Call me when you get this. I didn't call. I drove home slowly, still processing the evening, and when I walked in the door at 10, Claire was waiting in the kitchen with an irritated expression. There you are. Why didn't you answer your phone? I was presenting, in front of the city council. Remember? Oh, right. How did it go? Really well, actually. They're going to approve the project. That's great, hun. She said it automatically, already moving on. Listen, Ethan needs your car tomorrow because his Jeep's still in the shop. You can take mine or work from home, whatever. Something in me hardened. No. What? No. Ethan can take an Uber or get a ride from a friend. I need my car. Robert, don't be difficult. It's one day. I'm not being difficult. I'm saying no. He's 17. He can figure out his own transportation. Claire's eyes narrowed. What is going on with you? You've been acting strange for weeks. I've been acting like someone who's tired of being treated like a doormat. A doormat? That's dramatic. Is it? When's the last time anyone in this house asked what I wanted, instead of just assuming I'd go along with whatever suited everyone else? We're a family. Families compromise. Right. And somehow all the compromises involve me giving up what I need, so everyone else gets what they want. That's not fair. When's my birthday, Claire? She blinked. What? My birthday. What day is it? May 20th? 21st? 23rd. It was 3 weeks ago. You forgot. I didn't forget, She stopped. She had forgotten. We both knew it. Okay, I'm sorry. I've been busy. You remembered Ethan's birthday, had a whole party. He turned 17, that's a big one. I turned 45. You didn't even say happy birthday until I mentioned it at dinner, and then you said, oh right, happy birthday, like you were remembering to put out the trash. Claire's face flushed. I said I'm sorry, I'll make it up to you. How? By being slightly nicer for a week until you forget again? Robert, I had a presentation tonight. A big one. The biggest of my career. You forgot about that too. I didn't forget. I just didn't realize it was tonight. You didn't care enough to remember. There's a difference. We stared at each other across the kitchen. Upstairs, I could hear Ethan's music, oblivious to the tension below. Sophie's door was closed. I don't know what you want from me, Claire said finally. I want you to see me, to treat me like I matter. You do matter. You're my husband. Am I? Or am I just the guy who pays the bills and stays out of the way while you live your life? She opened her mouth, closed it. I saw something flicker in her eyes. Guilt, maybe, or recognition. But then her expression hardened. I think you're having some kind of midlife crisis. I almost laughed. Maybe I am. Or maybe I'm just finally noticing how things actually are instead of how I pretended them to be. We'll talk about this later when you're calmer. I'm perfectly calm. You're clearly upset. I'm done with this conversation. I walked past her toward the stairs. Tell Ethan he's not taking my car. He can solve his own problems for once. I went to bed angry, which was new. Usually I apologized even when I wasn't wrong, just to keep the peace. Not tonight. The next morning, Ethan was sulking at breakfast. Thanks a lot, Dad. Now I have to get a ride with Derek and his car smells like feet. You're welcome, I said. Mom said you're being weird. Did she? What's your problem lately? I looked at my son, 17, healthy, smart, with every advantage I'd worked to give him, and felt a complicated mix of love and disappointment. My problem is that I've spent 17 years being someone you could rely on, and somehow that translated into someone you could disrespect. Whoa, dramatic much? When's the last time you said thank you? For anything? He rolled his eyes. I say thank you. No, you don't. You expect. You assume. You take everything I do for granted and mock me behind my back. I don't. Dad should join us at the gym, show him what a real workout looks like. I quoted his own text from the group chat. That was you, wasn't it? His face went red. That was a joke. Was it? Because it didn't feel like one. Claire appeared in the doorway. Robert, can we not do this before school? Why not? Is there a better time to address the fact that our son treats me like I'm an inconvenience? You're being oversensitive, Claire said, and you're enabling him. Ethan grabbed his backpack. I'm out of here. This is ridiculous. He left. The front door slammed. Claire glared at me. Was that really necessary? Yes, I said. It was. I left for work before she could respond. The day was Friday, end of a strange week. My presentation had been successful, but the confrontation with my family left me feeling raw. Around noon, my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Mr. Chen, this is Mia. From Marcello's restaurant? It took me a second to place the name. The waitress who'd shown me the video. Yes, hi. What can I do for you? I wanted to check in, see if you were okay. I know that video was intense. I'm fine. Thank you for showing me. Did you do anything about it? I'm working on it. Good. You deserve better than how they treated you. She paused. Listen, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but they came back to the restaurant 2 nights ago. Your wife and son. My stomach tightened. Okay. They were talking about you again. I didn't record it or anything, but I overheard. They were making fun of some presentation you were stressed about, saying you were being dramatic about work stuff. When was this? Tuesday night. Day before your council thing, I think? So while I was preparing for the biggest presentation of my career, Claire and Ethan were out to dinner mocking my stress about it. Not supporting, not encouraging. Mocking. Thank you for telling me, I managed. I'm sorry. I just thought you should know. After we hung up, I sat in my car in the parking lot for a long time. Every new piece of evidence, every fresh humiliation, it all added up. I wasn't imagining this. I wasn't being oversensitive. This was real, and it had been going on for years. I opened my documentation folder and added another entry. Then I called my lawyer friend Mark, someone I'd known since college, but barely talked to anymore. Robert, long time. What's up? Mark, I need some legal advice about family law. Oh, his tone changed. What's going on? Can we meet? Soon? Yeah, of course. Tomorrow morning? Coffee at that place on Burnside? Perfect, thanks. That night, I told Claire I'd be out Saturday morning. She barely looked up from her phone. Okay. Can you pick up groceries after? No, I'll be busy. She frowned. Doing what? Personal business. Robert, I'll be back when I'm back. I went upstairs before she could argue, passing Ethan's room where he was video chatting with friends, laughing loudly. Sophie's light was on, so I knocked gently. Come in. She was reading in bed. She set the book down when I entered. Everything okay? She asked. Getting there. Can I ask you something? Sure. Do you think I'm a good dad? She looked surprised. Of course. You're the best dad. Even though I'm boring. Even though I'm not cool like Ethan's friends' dads? Dad, that's stupid. Those guys are trying too hard. You're real. She paused. And you're the only one in this house who treats me like my opinions matter. What do you mean? Mom and Ethan don't really listen to me. They interrupt or ignore what I say, but you always listen. Always. I felt my throat tighten. Thanks, Sophie. Are you and Mom going to split up? The question caught me off guard. I don't know. Maybe. Would that be bad? Would it be bad for you? She thought about it. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it would be better than everyone pretending we're a happy family when we're not. I sat on the edge of her bed. I'm sorry things have been tense. It's not your fault. You're the only one trying to make things better. She picked up her book again. Dad, whatever you're planning, whatever you're going to do, I'm on your side. I'm not planning anything. Yes, you are. I can tell. And that's okay. Just be careful. I kissed her forehead and left her to her reading. In my own room, Claire was already asleep. I lay awake next to her, thinking about tomorrow's meeting with Mark, about the documentation I'd collected, about the video still saved on my phone. The pieces were falling into place. Soon, it would be time to use them. Chapter 5. Saturday morning, I met Mark at a coffee shop on Burnside. He was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with 2 cups in front of him. He'd aged well, still had most of his hair, expensive watch, confident posture. The kind of man who looked like success. Robert. He stood to shake my hand. Good to see you, man. It's been too long. Thanks for meeting. We sat. He pushed one of the cups toward me, black coffee, the way I'd always taken it. He remembered. So, he said, family law, what's going on? I pulled out my phone and opened the documentation folder. I need you to look at something first, set the context. I showed him the restaurant video. He watched without comment, his expression growing more serious as it played. When it finished, he set the phone down carefully. Damn, Robert. I'm sorry. That's not all. I showed him the bank statements, the text messages, the pattern of dismissals and disrespect I'd documented. He reviewed everything methodically, taking notes on a small pad. How long has this been going on? He asked. Years, probably. I just finally noticed. And you want to? I don't know yet. That's why I'm here. What are my options? Mark leaned back, tapped his pen against his notepad. Well, that depends on what you want. Do you want to fix the relationship? Or end it? I don't think it can be fixed. Not when they don't even see me as a person worth respecting. Okay. Then we're talking about separation, possibly work toward you-know-what. Oregon is a no-fault state, which makes things simpler. Assets get divided equitably, not necessarily equally. Kids are old enough that custody isn't really an issue. Ethan's almost 18. Sophie can probably choose where she wants to spend time. What about evidence? All this documentation I've collected? It's useful for establishing patterns of behavior, but Oregon courts don't really care about who was mean to whom unless it involves abuse or endangerment. Emotionally, though. He gestured at my phone. This stuff matters. Not legally, but personally. It proves you're not crazy. I needed proof of that. Most people do when they're in situations like this. Gaslighting is real, even unintentional. When everyone around you acts like you're overreacting, you start to believe it. We talked through logistics, asset division, retirement accounts, the house, college funds. Mark explained processes, timelines, potential outcomes. It was clinical, businesslike, but necessary. One more thing, I said. I don't want to just quietly separate. I want them to understand what they did. I want there to be consequences. Mark looked uncomfortable. Robert, I get that impulse, but revenge rarely goes the way you think it will. I'm not talking about revenge. I'm talking about accountability, public, undeniable accountability. What did you have in mind? I told him about an idea that had been forming since I'd seen that video. A family reunion was coming up in 2 weeks. Claire's extended family, maybe 40 people. Her parents, siblings, cousins, all gathering at a park pavilion for a big summer barbecue. It was the kind of event where Claire performed, showing off our perfect family to everyone. I want to show them who we really are, I said. Not the image, the truth. How? I'll present the evidence. The video, the texts, the bank statements, everything, in front of everyone. Mark shook his head. That's a bad idea. Why? Because humiliation doesn't fix anything. It just burns bridges you might need later. I don't need those bridges. What about Sophie? You show that video, expose her mother and brother in front of the whole family? You think that won't affect her? That stopped me. I hadn't fully considered Sophie's perspective on all this. She already knows, I said. She's told me she wants me to stand up for myself. Standing up for yourself doesn't require public humiliation of others. Look, I understand you're angry. You have every right to be, but there's a difference between setting boundaries and seeking vengeance. Is there? Because setting boundaries hasn't worked for 15 years. You never really tried. By your own admission, you just went along with everything." He was right, and I hated it. "So what do you suggest?" I asked. "Tell them privately first, Claire at least. Lay out everything you've shown me. Explain how serious this is. Give her a chance to understand the consequences. If she dismisses you again, if she doesn't take it seriously, then you move forward with whatever you need to do. But at least give her that chance. She doesn't deserve a chance. Maybe not, but you deserve to be the kind of man who offers one anyway." We finished our coffee and made plans to meet again the following week. Mark gave me some paperwork to review, preliminary documents that would start the official process if I decided to move forward. Driving home, I thought about what he'd said. Part of me knew he was right. Public humiliation would be satisfying in the moment but destructive long-term. But another part, the part that had been stepped on and dismissed for years, wanted everyone to see, wanted witnesses to the truth. When I got home, Claire's car was gone. A note on the counter said she'd taken Ethan to look at dorm furniture. Sophie was in the living room watching TV. "Hey, Dad, how was your morning?" "Productive. Where'd everyone go?" "College shopping. I wasn't invited." She said it matter-of-factly, without bitterness. "It's an Ethan and Mom thing." I sat next to her on the couch. "Sophie, can I ask you something serious?" She muted the TV. "Sure. If things got really bad between me and your mom, if we ended up separating, what would you want?" She was quiet for a moment. "Would I have to choose?" "Probably. Not legally, but practically." "Then I'd choose you." No hesitation. "Is that bad?" "No, honey, it's not bad. But can you tell me why?" "Because you're the only one who sees me as a whole person instead of just a role I'm supposed to play. Mom loves me, I know she does, but she loves the idea of me, the good daughter, the straight A student. She doesn't really know who I am, and Ethan barely notices I exist unless he needs something. And me? You ask about my day. You remember things I tell you. You treat me like what I think matters." She looked at me seriously. "That's not nothing, Dad." I pulled her into a hug, and she let me, which she didn't always do anymore at 14. "Whatever happens," I said, "I'll make sure you're okay. That's a promise." "I know." We sat together watching TV for a while, and I realized this was what I'd been missing. Not grand gestures or dramatic confrontations, just simple recognition that I existed and mattered. Sophie gave me that. Claire and Ethan didn't. Later that afternoon, Claire and Ethan came home with the car full of dorm supplies, mini fridge, bedding, desk organizers. Ethan was excited, talking about his roommate and meal plans and freshman orientation. Claire was animated, happy in a way I hadn't seen her in months. "Robert, come look at this comforter we got," she called. "Isn't it perfect?" I looked at the navy blue comforter with gold accents. It was nice. Expensive, probably. "It's fine," I said. "Just fine? I think it's great. Really mature looking." "How much was it?" "Does it matter?" "It's for his first year of college. That's important." "Right. Important." I walked away before saying something I'd regret. That night, after everyone was asleep, I went to my computer and opened my documentation folder. I read through everything I'd collected: texts, bank statements, notes, the video. Mark's words echoed in my head about giving Claire a chance, about being the better person. But I also remembered years of invisibility, years of being useful but not valued, years of watching my own family treat me like hired help. I created a new document titled Family Meeting Notes and started writing out exactly what I wanted to say. Not in anger, but in truth. Clear, specific, undeniable truth. Tomorrow, I decided. Tomorrow I would talk to Claire. Give her that chance Mark said I should give. And if she dismissed me again, if she made excuses or turned it around on me, well, then I'd know what I needed to do. Chapter 6. Sunday morning felt heavy with potential. I woke up early, before anyone else, and went downstairs to make coffee. The house was quiet, peaceful almost. Outside it was starting to rain, that light Portland drizzle that could last all day. I sat at the kitchen table with my notes, reviewing what I wanted to say to Claire. Keep it calm, keep it factual, give her a chance to understand. She came down around 8, already dressed for her morning yoga class. She poured coffee, checked her phone, grabbed her keys. "I'll be back around 10:30, she said. "Can you make sure Ethan doesn't sleep all day? He needs to start packing for school." "Claire, we need to talk." "Can it wait? I'm going to be late." "No, it can't wait." Something in my tone made her stop. She set down her keys and looked at me properly for the first time in days. "Okay, what's going on?" "Sit down, please." She sat, but her body language was defensive, arms crossed, shoulders tight. Already preparing to argue before I'd said anything. I pulled out my phone and set it on the table between us. The video was queued up, ready to play. "I need you to watch something. All the way through, no interrupting." "Robert, please." She picked up the phone, saw the video interface, and her expression changed. She watched it. I saw the exact moment she realized what it was. Her eyes widened, her face went pale. The audio played clearly in the quiet kitchen, her own voice saying I was safe and settled, Ethan calling me pathetic. Their laughter. When it finished, she set the phone down carefully. "Where did you get this?" "The restaurant. There's a security camera." That's illegal. You can't record people without consent." "Actually, in Oregon, businesses can use security cameras, and even if they couldn't, that doesn't change what you said, what he said." She was quiet for a long moment. "It sounds worse than it was." "Does it? Because it sounded pretty straightforward to me. You married me because I was safe, because I'd never leave or cause problems, because I pay the bills." "I was joking." "Were you? Because you didn't sound like you were joking. You sounded like you were telling the truth." She stood up, paced to the window. "Okay. I'm sorry. That was a terrible thing to say, and I shouldn't have said it." "When did I become someone you could talk about like that?" "I don't know. It just happened. We got comfortable. You never complained, so I assumed everything was fine." "I shouldn't have to complain. I shouldn't have to beg for basic respect in my own family." She turned to face me. "You're right. You're absolutely right. I've taken you for granted, and that's not fair. I'll do better." "Will you?" "Yes, I promise." I pulled out the stack of documents I'd prepared, bank statements, text messages, the notes from work, everything. "Here's the thing, Claire. This isn't just one conversation at a restaurant. This is years of patterns. Years of me being invisible while you and Ethan did whatever you wanted with my money, my time, my life." She looked at the papers spread across the table. "What is all this?" "Evidence that I'm not crazy, that this has been real and ongoing and damaging." "Evidence?" "Robert, this isn't a court case." "Isn't it?" "Because it feels like I've been trying to prove I'm worth listening to for years, and nobody's believed me." She sat back down, looking at the documents. I watched her face as she read through texts, saw the bank statements, realized just how much I'd documented. Her expression went from defensive to concerned, to something that might have been guilt. "I didn't realize you felt this way," she said quietly. "I know. Because you weren't paying attention." "So what do you want? What would make this better?" "I want you to actually see me, to treat me like a partner instead of a useful appliance. I want Ethan to show me some basic respect. I want to feel like I matter in my own home." "Okay, we can do that. We'll have a family meeting, set some ground rules." "Claire." I stopped her. "I don't think you understand how serious this is." "I do. I really do. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Just tell me what you need." This was the moment Mark had talked about. The chance to see if she really understood, if anything could change. Part of me wanted to believe her apology was real, that we could fix this. But I looked at her face, and I saw something I'd seen 1,000 times before. She was managing me. Using the right words, hitting the right notes, but not really feeling it, not really understanding. She was sorry she got caught, sorry I was making waves. But sorry for how she'd treated me? I wasn't sure she even saw what she'd done wrong. "I've talked to a lawyer," I said. Her face went white. "What?" "Mark Anders. We met yesterday. He's preparing some preliminary paperwork." "Paperwork for what?" "Robert, are you talking about separating?" "I'm considering it. Over one stupid conversation I had at a restaurant? That's insane." "It's not over one conversation. It's over years of being treated like I don't matter." "You're being dramatic. Every marriage has rough patches. Every family has issues. You don't just throw it all away because of some hurt feelings." And there it was. Hurt feelings. Like I was being oversensitive. Like this was all in my head. This isn't hurt feelings, Claire. This is you fundamentally not respecting me as a person. I respect you. You don't. And you don't even see that you don't. That's the problem. She started to cry. Real tears or strategic ones. I couldn't tell anymore. "Robert, please. Don't do this. We can fix this. I'll talk to Ethan. We'll go to counseling, whatever you want." I've wanted those things for years. Now that I'm finally standing up for myself, suddenly you're willing to try? Better late than never, right? Isn't that what you'd want me to say? I want you to actually mean it. I do mean it. Then tell me right now, honestly, when's the last time you thought about what I wanted? Not what was convenient for you, not what made your life easier. When's the last time you actually considered me as a full person with my own needs and desires? She opened her mouth, closed it, couldn't answer. "That's what I thought," I said. Footsteps on the stairs. Ethan appeared in the kitchen, rumpled from sleep, looking at our tense faces with confusion. "What's going on?" "Your father's having some kind of breakdown," Claire said. "I'm not having a breakdown. I'm having a wake-up." Ethan looked between us. "Seriously, what's happening?" I handed him my phone with the video queued up. "Watch this." He watched it. His face went red. "Where did you get this?" "From someone who thought I should know what my own family says about me when I'm not around." "Dad, it was just talking. Everyone vents about their parents. Venting is, my dad's annoying sometimes. That video is you calling me pathetic and mocking me for trying to be part of your life." "I didn't mean it like that." "How did you mean it then?" He struggled for words. "I don't know, it's just, you're kind of embarrassing sometimes, the way you try too hard to connect or whatever. It's weird." "Trying too hard to connect with my own son is weird?" "Yeah, kind of. You're not like other dads. You're boring. You dress boring, drive a boring car, have a boring job. My friends' dads are cool. They talk about sports and current stuff. You talk about bridges and engineering. Because that's what I do. That's what pays for your Jeep and your gym membership and your $200 party money. So, that doesn't mean I have to pretend to be interested." I felt something break inside me. Not dramatically. Just a quiet snap of the last thread holding me to this family. "You're right," I said. "You don't have to pretend. And I don't have to keep pretending that your disrespect is normal teenage behavior." "Robert, don't do this," Claire said. "He's just a kid. He doesn't understand." "He's 17, old enough to understand basic respect. And if he doesn't, that's on you for not teaching him." "On me? I'm not the one who—" "You're the one who laughed when he called me pathetic. You're the one who said you settled for me. You're the one who's modeled this behavior for 17 years. Sophie appeared in the doorway, drawn by the raised voices. She took one look at the scene and stayed quiet, but moved to stand near me. Claire saw it, her daughter literally choosing sides, and something in her expression hardened. "Fine," she said. If you want to blow up our family over this, go ahead. But don't pretend you're some victim here. You've been checked out for years, working late, hiding in your garage, barely participating in family life. Maybe if you'd been more present, more engaged, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I worked late because we needed the money. I hid in the garage because it was the only place I didn't feel unwelcome. And I stopped participating because every time I tried, I was dismissed or ignored. That's your perception. It's reality. I have evidence, documented patterns going back years. You documented our family like we're some kind of criminal case? That's sick, Robert. What's sick is treating your husband like an ATM with a pulse. Ethan made a disgusted sound. This is so dramatic. Everyone's parents are like this. Everyone's families have issues. Not like this, Sophie said quietly. It was the first time she'd spoken. Sophie, stay out of this, Claire snapped. No! Sophie moved closer to me. Dad's right. You and Ethan treat him terribly and you don't even notice, or you don't care. Either way, it's wrong. This isn't about taking sides. You made it about sides. Every time you and Ethan teamed up against Dad, every time you dismissed him or laughed at him, you made it about sides. Don't blame us for noticing. Claire looked genuinely shocked, like she'd never considered that Sophie saw what was happening. Honey, I've never teamed up against your father. Yes, you have. All the time. You just call it jokes or family dynamics or whatever, but that's what it is. Sophie, that's enough, Claire said firmly. No, it's not nearly enough. Someone needed to say this years ago. I put my hand on Sophie's shoulder. It's okay, I've got this. She looked up at me, her eyes bright with unshed tears, and nodded. I turned back to Claire and Ethan. I'm going to my sister's house in Seattle for a few days. To think. When I come back, we'll figure out next steps. Next steps? Claire's voice rose. Robert, you can't just leave. Watch me. What about the reunion next weekend? My whole family's expecting us. Tell them whatever you want. I won't be there. I went upstairs and packed a bag. Claire followed, arguing the whole time. Ethan stood in the hallway looking confused and angry. Sophie sat on my bed watching me pack with a sad, resigned expression. Take me with you, Sophie said suddenly. Honey, I don't think... Please, I don't want to stay here if you're gone. Claire appeared in the doorway. Sophie, you're not going anywhere. Your father's being irrational, but that doesn't mean... I want to go with Dad. Absolutely not. You can't stop me. I'm old enough to choose. You're 14. Old enough to have a choice about which parent I stay with if they're separated. The word separated hung in the air like smoke. Claire looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw fear in her eyes for the first time. Robert, please, don't do this. I have to. I finished packing. Sophie ran to her room and threw clothes in her own bag. Within 20 minutes, we were loading the car. Ethan had disappeared to his room. Claire stood in the driveway, arms wrapped around herself. How long will you be gone? I don't know. What am I supposed to tell people? Tell them the truth. That you took me for granted until I finally had enough. Robert, I'll call you in a few days. We'll figure out logistics. Sophie got in the passenger seat. I got in the driver's side. Through the windshield, I could see Claire's face. Angry, scared, confused, but still not quite understanding what she'd done to bring us here. As I backed out of the driveway, Sophie said quietly, Thank you. For what? For finally standing up. I know it's hard. I reached over and squeezed her hand. It was the only thing left to do. We drove to Seattle in silence, rain pattering against the windshield, the city receding in the rearview mirror. My phone kept buzzing, texts from Claire, calls I didn't answer. Each buzz felt like chains falling away. By the time we reached my sister's house, I felt lighter than I had in years. Not happy, exactly, but free. My sister Rachel opened the door, took one look at us, and pulled me into a hug. It's about time, she said. You knew? Everyone knew, Robert. We've all seen how she treats you. We just didn't think you'd ever do anything about it. We went inside. Sophie collapsed on the couch, exhausted from the emotional morning. Rachel made coffee and sat across from me at her kitchen table. So, what now? Now I figure out what comes next. Mark's helping with the legal stuff. And the emotional stuff? I'll work on that. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from Claire. I talked to Ethan. He feels terrible. We both do. Please come home so we can fix this. I showed it to Rachel. She read it and snorted. They feel terrible now. Classic. Do you think I'm doing the right thing? Do you? I thought about it. About years of invisibility, about Ethan's contempt, about Claire's casual dismissal of my worth, about that video, those texts, those bank statements. Yeah, I said, I do. Then that's all that matters. That evening, I finally responded to Claire's texts. I need space. I'll be in touch when I'm ready. Her response came immediately. The reunion is Saturday. Everyone's expecting to see you. I looked at that text for a long time. The reunion. 40 people, all gathered to celebrate family. Claire's perfect opportunity to present our perfect life. An idea formed, the same one I'd mentioned to Mark, but refined now, clearer. I called Mark. Remember what I said about the reunion? Robert, we talked about this. I know, but hear me out. I'm not going to humiliate anyone. I'm just going to tell the truth. Show the video, explain what's been happening, and let the family see reality instead of the image Claire's been maintaining. Why? Because they deserve to know, and because Claire needs to face actual consequences for once. As long as everyone believes her version of things, nothing changes. Mark was quiet for a long moment. If you do this, there's no going back. You understand that? I understand. And you're sure this is about accountability, not revenge? I thought about that distinction. I'm sure. This isn't about hurting her. It's about making the truth visible. Okay, then I'll support you. But I'm coming with you, as your lawyer and your friend. We made plans. I'd go back to Portland on Saturday morning, show up at the reunion, wait until everyone was there, until Claire was in the middle of her performance, and then I'd present the evidence. Not in anger, not with drama, just calm, clear truth. Sophie found me on Rachel's back porch later that night. She sat next to me in the growing dark. Are you really going through with it? She asked. The reunion thing? How did you know about that? I heard you on the phone with Mark. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. Yeah, I'm really doing it. Good. They need to know what they've done. You might get caught in the crossfire, Sophie. Your mom's family might blame you for taking my side. I don't care. I'd rather have an honest family than a fake happy one. We sat in comfortable silence, and I thought about how strange it was that my 14-year-old daughter had more emotional maturity than the adults in this situation. The next few days passed in a strange limbo. I worked remotely from Rachel's house, reviewed documents with Mark, prepared what I would say at the reunion. Claire texted constantly, angry texts, pleading texts, confused texts. I responded minimally, just enough to confirm I'd be at the reunion. On Friday night, Sophie asked if she was coming with me. You don't have to, I said. This might get ugly. I want to be there. I want to watch them finally face what they've done. So Saturday morning, we drove back to Portland. Mark met us at a coffee shop near the park where the reunion would be held. He had papers with him, evidence organized, timeline documented, everything prepared like we were presenting a case, which, in a way, we were. Last chance to back out, Mark said. I'm not backing out. Okay, then let's go make some people uncomfortable. We arrived at the park at noon. The pavilion was already full of people, Claire's parents, her siblings and their families, cousins, extended family. Someone had set up tables with food, there was music playing, kids running around. It looked perfect. Claire saw me arrive and her face lit up with relief. She hurried over, Ethan trailing behind her. "Robert, thank God. I was worried you wouldn't come." "I said I would." "Who's this?" She looked at Mark suspiciously. "Mark Anders. I'm Robert's attorney." "Attorney? Why do you need an attorney at a family reunion?" "You'll see." Claire's smile faltered. "Robert, what are you doing?" "What I should have done years ago." I walked past her toward the pavilion. People greeted me, asked how I'd been, made small talk. I responded automatically, my mind focused on what came next. After an hour of socializing, Claire's father stood up to make a toast. He talked about family, about tradition, about how grateful he was to have everyone together. People raised glasses, smiled, took pictures. When he finished, I stood up. "I'd like to say something too," I announced. The crowd quieted. Claire looked nervous. Ethan looked confused. "I want to thank you all for being here," I began, "for being part of this family, for supporting each other. Family matters. Respect matters. And that's what I want to talk about today. Respect, or the lack of it." Claire stood up. "Robert, what are you doing?" "Telling the truth." I pulled out my phone and connected it to a portable speaker Mark had brought. "I'm going to play you something. It's a video from a few weeks ago. I want you all to hear what my wife and son really think of me." "Robert, don't." Claire started toward me, but Mark stepped between us. "He has every right to speak," Mark said quietly. I played the video. The audio filled the pavilion, clear and undeniable. Claire's voice saying I was safe and settled. Ethan calling me pathetic. Their laughter. The crowd was silent. Claire's face went white. Her mother looked shocked. People exchanged glances, uncomfortable but unable to look away. When the video ended, I spoke again. "That's not all. For those of you who think this is just one bad moment, one out-of-context conversation, I have years of evidence. Texts where they mock me. Bank statements showing how my income pays for everything while Claire's money goes to her personal expenses. Documentation of every time I've been dismissed, ignored, or treated like a servant in my own home." "Robert, stop," Claire said, her voice shaking. "Please." "Why? You weren't concerned about stopping when you were talking about me behind my back. When you were teaching our son that disrespecting me was normal and funny." I looked around at the gathered family. "I know this is uncomfortable. I know you'd all prefer to pretend everything's fine, that we're the perfect, happy family Claire's been presenting for years. But we're not, and I'm done pretending." Claire's sister, Amy, stood up. "Claire, is this true? Did you really say those things?" Claire couldn't meet her eyes. "It was taken out of context." "Play it again," someone said. I thought it was Claire's father. I played it again, and again. That silence fell. Undeniable. Clear. "I've spent 15 years being invisible in my own family," I continued. "Working to provide for everyone, showing up for everything, trying to be present and supportive, and in return, I've been treated like an inconvenience, like someone who's just there to pay bills and stay out of the way." Ethan stood up, his face red. "Dad, you're making this a bigger deal than it is." "Am I?" Let's ask everyone here. How many of you have heard Claire make jokes about me over the years, about how I'm boring, or old-fashioned, or too serious? Several people shifted uncomfortably. A few looked down. No one spoke, but their silence was answer enough. That's what I thought. I turned to Claire. "You've spent years building an image. The successful career woman, the perfect mother, the wonderful family. And I've helped you maintain that image by staying quiet, by not making waves, by accepting whatever treatment you gave me. I'm done." Claire was crying now, real tears. "Robert, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you." "You didn't mean to. That's almost worse. It means hurting me was so natural, so easy, that you didn't even notice you were doing it." Her father approached us. "Son, Maybe we should take this somewhere private. No, this needs to be public. Claire's performance of perfection has been public. The truth needs to be public too. What do you want? Claire asked. What will make this right? Nothing will make this right. That's the point. You can't unsay those words. You can't undo years of dismissal and disrespect. The best we can hope for now is honesty. I looked at the gathered family, at their shocked faces, at their discomfort. I'm filing for separation. Sophie will stay with me, that's her choice. Ethan can figure out where he wants to be when he comes home from college. Claire can have the house, most of the assets. I don't care about that stuff, I just want to be free. Claire collapsed into a chair, sobbing. Her mother went to her, but even she looked disturbed by what she'd heard. The crowd was dispersing now, people making excuses, gathering their things, hurrying away from the wreckage of what was supposed to be a happy family gathering. Sophie appeared at my side. Can we go now? Yeah, we can go. Mark handed me a folder. Separation papers, already prepared. Give them to her when she's calmer. I set the folder on the table near Claire.